Welcome back to Real Housewives Recaps. Today I'm covering my favorite non-Bravo show, Fleabag. I wanted to talk through each episode and I'm going to try to avoid spoilers in case you're watching it for the first time. In which case, welcome. Let's talk about Season 1, Episode 1. These episodes don't actually have names, they just give them numbers. So Amazon had a pretty funny description of this episode. It says, angry, pervy, outrageous, and hilarious Fleabag arrives with a bang as she spins through the city, grasping at anyone and anything that might keep her head above water. So we kick off the episode with her staring at the door in a trench coat, breathing hard, and it takes about 29 seconds, I timed it, before anything's actually said. She looks at the camera and says, you know that thing when a guy sends you a text at 2 o'clock on a Tuesday night asking if he can come and find you, and you've accidentally made it out like you've just gotten in yourself. So you have to get out of bed, drink a half a bottle of wine, get in the shower, shave everything, dig out some agent provocateur business, suspender belt, the whole bit, and wait by the door until the buzzer goes. The guy is arsehole guy, which I don't think I have to explain. She wakes to find him gazing at her. He reveals it's always been a fantasy to do it that way, thanks her, and kisses her. And he leaves, and you spend the rest of the day wondering, do I have a massive a-hole? That is like the funniest line. I love it. So next scene, we have her on the bus. She keeps peering back at this guy known as Bus Rodent. He asks her for her number and asks how her ex effed up their relationship. Then we have a flashback of Fleabag with her ex, and we come to find out that they break up a lot, and he broke up with her because he caught her masturbating to an Obama speech. Something interesting to point out is her ex is named Harry, and he's one of the only ones that actually has a name. Usually they're referred to as nicknames. We don't actually find out their name. We flash back to Bus Guy, and it's just kind of a strange interaction, and when it's done, she walks off, and then she has to take off running. So she has to run, we find out, because she has a meeting with her bank manager. So the next scene is her meeting with the bank manager discussing a small business loan. She's obviously panting and hot from all the running. He offers her a glass of water, but he never actually gets it for her. He doesn't even make like he's gonna get it for her. They discuss the problems that the bank managers had with sexual harassment in the past. She is so hot she's not even thinking. She tries to take off her jumper and forgets she's not wearing a shirt underneath. So she flashes her bra at him. They kind of go back and forth. He says, we're not that kind of business. She says, I'm not trying to shag you. Look at yourself. And he asks her to leave. And that pretty much ends the meeting that she had to have to save her business. She calls him a perv, he calls her a slut, and that's that. So the next scene, we see her sit down next to Claire, who we find out is Fleabag's sister. Fleabag explains that her dad sends the sisters to a women's seminar. It's because they lost their mother. She makes a joke about not having a mother. She starts to take off her coat and reveals she's wearing the top that Claire lost years ago. So she puts back on her coat to try to hide it. She debates with herself about asking her successful sister for money, and then ends up lying to tell her that business is good. After she tells her this, we get a flash of the small cafe, and we have a customer in there that is setting up his laptop and setting up shop and not interested in buying anything. So we find out the business is not good. Claire asks about Harry, and Fleabag reveals that they've broken up. Claire brings up about getting drunk and screaming into a litter box. Turns out she has a habit of doing this. And Fleabag brings up her shitting in a sink, which was hilarious. Claire's face was so funny. They talk about pants, which of course are undies here in America. They then use that to flash to a scene of Fleabag with Boo. This is the first time we are seeing Boo. So Fleabag and Boo are in a dressing room. Boo accidentally insults Fleabag's outfit and offers to buy her sexy pants. We get a glimpse of Fleabag and Boo's relationship, and it's so sweet and it makes you hurt for what's coming. So we're back to the women's seminar called Opening Women's Minds. And we see this lovely woman come out to give a speech. And a behind the scenes note, that is Phoebe Waller-Bridge's mom, Tree Waller-Bridge. That's so cool. So she poses the question, raise your hand if you'd trade 5 years of your life for the perfect body. Of course, Claire and Fleabag are the only two to raise their hands. And Fleabag says we are bad feminists. So the next scene we have Fleabag giving the sweater back to Claire. Claire says, won't you be cold? And Fleabag says, nah, I have really hairy nipples. Claire tries to hug Fleabag. Fleabag doesn't know how to react, so she slaps her. Claire asks her out for a drink. Fleabag says she has plans. Of course, we find out she doesn't actually have plans. She ends up asking a stranger out for a drink. And then, because she can't think of anything else to do, she seems to accept a date from the bus rodent. He asks her for a drink. He ends up being the most boring date. He's just talking about himself. She's really uninterested. She ends up taking some money out of his wallet. He comes back over and asks her for a drink, and she says that they could just go to hers, and he shoots her down. She says, what the F is your problem? And calls him pathetic, which is an interesting glimpse into the relationship she has with people. She goes outside and helps a drunk woman get into a cab. The woman calls Fleabag a lovely man, which was pretty funny. So we flash back to Fleabag and Boo and better times where they were happy and drinking and they were singing. So happy to be a modern woman. Fleabag then is yelling into the mail slot, just like Claire predicted. Dad says it's nearly 2 o'clock in the morning and he just doesn't know how to interact with her. She says, I have a horrible feeling that I'm a greedy, perverted, selfish, apathetic, cynical, depraved, morally bankrupt woman who cannot even call herself a feminist. Dad says you get all that from your mother. He says he'll call her a cab and not to go upstairs. So of course, Fleabag goes upstairs. Godmother is up there, played by the wonderful Olivia Colman. And Fleabag explains, to be fair, she's not an evil stepmother. She's just a C-word. So then Fleabag looks around the studio and spots this statue that she likes. She calls the statue a poor effer, picks it up, and stepmom reveals that it's actually very valuable. Fleabag asks if she can have it. The stepmother says no. Stepmom takes the opportunity to give her a jab and says she looks ghastly. So then we have Fleabag in the cab. She's making conversation with the driver. And he asks her about owning a cafe. She says it's a funny story. She says, I opened a cafe with my friend Boo. She's dead now. She actually killed herself. It wasn't her intention, but it wasn't a total accident. She didn't actually think she would die. She just found out her boyfriend effed someone else and wanted to punish him by ending up in hospital and not letting him visit for a bit. She decided to walk into a busy cycle lane, wanted to get tangled up in a bike, break a finger maybe, but it turns out bikes go fast and they flip you into the road. 3 people died. She was such a dick. So yeah, kind of on my own. And then she pulls out the statue she stole. And then there's silence before the loud music plays and she smiles directly into the camera. Wow, so you talk about like the best first episode to a series. Sets up so many interesting things to come. Again, I'm not going to spoil it for you, but if you've seen it, wow. Even the rewatch, I just love rewatching it. This is probably my 6th time to rewatch it because every time I discover something new that I love, and I think Phoebe Waller-Bridge is a genius, and I just love her stuff. So I'm curious to know your thoughts. Have you seen Fleabag? How many times have you seen Fleabag? Just let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll be kind of picking these up and watching them and discussing. So if you're interested in watching with me, come join me. Thanks so much. I really appreciate it. And you can check out my Real Housewives recaps. I do Beverly Hills and New York, and I'm also working on Below Deck. So be sure to check those out. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I hope you've enjoyed it. Bye-bye.